1031 exchange? What the heck is that? Well, guys, Tara Ryan here with Fairway Mortgage, and today's tip from Tara is all about the 1031 exchange. Short answer is this is something that investors can use to sell an investment property, and instead of having to pay the capital gains taxes on their proceeds, they can take all of the funds and put them into new rental property. So that's the exchange piece of it, and defer paying any taxes on that property appreciation. It is a great tool for deferring taxes. Kind of a loophole, I guess you would call it. There's a lot of talk of removing this in the tax code going forward, but for right now, it still exists. And for you as real estate agents, it's super easy. So I don't want you to be nervous or concerned if an investor asks you about a 1031 exchange. Here's the deal. It's not for primary residence. It's not for second homes. These are for properties that are held for business use. And then there's some rules about it. The idea is to transfer all the funds from the one property into a like kind of property. So that means an investment property for an investment property. It can be in different states. There's no restriction against that. So you could sell an investment property in South Carolina and buy a replacement one here in Georgia. That would be fine. Ideally, though, you're keeping the price point similar. There's not a restriction, though. If you sold one for $500 and then bought one for $400, you can do that. It's just that extra is called the boot that you didn't put into the property would be taxable at that time. Okay, so most folks want to defer all of the proceeds, so they'll be looking for a property that's very similar or maybe higher priced, because there's no restriction of putting some additional funds into the replacement property. What do you need to know? There is an intermediary. Yes. Intermediary. So a 1031 intermediary is a company that basically exists to handle these types of transactions. So when the investor sells their investment property, the proceeds, the money they receive, goes to the exchange company to be held. And that intermediary holds those funds. Why? Because, gosh, if it filtered through the actual owner of the property, then they'd be receiving these proceeds, which should be taxed. So by holding them until the purchase of the replacement property, we avoid a taxable event. So there is this 1031 exchange intermediary company that would be employed. The investor is going to pay that company for handling this transaction. For me, as the lender, on their purchase of the new replacement property or properties, by the way, you can sell one and then buy two with those proceeds, or sell two and buy one bigger one. So that would be fine as well. But for me, we work with that intermediary, the exchange company, to review the CD, make sure the numbers all make sense, make sure we're using all of the funds appropriately. And then the source of the down payment is not from the buyer, it's from the intermediary, right? So we would document the source of fund using documentation from that exchange company in between. The sales contract, does require that both parties acknowledge that one of the parties is using a 1031 exchange, but we can just simply add an amendment to the contract that says, hey, all parties acknowledge that the seller is part of a 1031 exchange, or all parties acknowledge that the buyer is doing a 1031 exchange. So quite simple and easy to do. From a lending perspective, it's just a little bit of extra to document it and work with that intermediary company. But bottom line, it's super simple. Nothing you should be nervous about or scared about. And if you have investors that are interested, give me a call. We're happy to bounce some ideas off of you. Make sure you feel confident and comfortable in working on that transaction. And as always, we are here to help. We want to be your lender. If you'd like more content like this, please like and subscribe below. And as always, we're here to help.